great players, they have a great organization, and you tell them one thing, baby.
What is good, Raider Nation? It's your boy Raider Alex back with yet another video for you guys. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Also make sure to hit that bell notification, that way you get notified every time I post a video just like this one. Without further ado, let's jump right into the topic of this video. The regular season is finally upon us. I am so pumped up for the week 1 matchup against the Denver Broncos. The NFL regular season is finally back, and now the Raiders had a pretty smooth offseason thus far, except for the latest situation with our defensive end Chandler Jones, which was just a really bizarre situation in general. I didn't really want to make a full video on this topic because there's just not enough information to do so. I really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I just hope this does not affect the locker room and the overall concentration of this team for such an important matchup to open the 2023 NFL season against the Denver Broncos. And now what really propelled me to make this video as well was the fact that I saw that, at least according to the mainstream NFL media, the Raiders are coming in as a major underdog in this game. Most NFL analysts are predicting the Denver Broncos to win this game. And look, months ago I made a record prediction live stream where I predicted we would lose in this first week, but I will say I'm a lot more optimistic about this team currently than I was months ago. And really, regardless of who wins, I think this game is going to be a very tough competitive matchup, and I don't think either team is a clear favorite by any means. The Broncos have a lot of injuries on the offensive side of the football, and Russell Wilson will also have to adapt to a brand new offense under head coach Sean Payton. Now, the side of the ball that I'm very intrigued about is the offensive side of the football for the Raiders. The Raiders have a new quarterback for the first time in nearly a decade with Jimmy Garoppolo. And the Denver Broncos also have a strong, stout defense. Not only that, but the Broncos also have our former backup quarterback Jarrett Stidham, who is very familiar with the ins and outs of the Josh McDaniels offense. So that's definitely going to be an advantage for them. But I will say, to combat that, the good thing is that the Raiders this year have a lot of different pieces and personnel on offense, so I think we're going to be running different things that we were doing last season. It is week 1 of the regular season, so there isn't any tape on Josh McDaniels' play calling under this new group of players like Trey Tucker, Jakobi Meyers, players like that. And if there's ever a time to switch things up, it's going to be in week 1, where you have months just to prepare for your rival, for the Denver Broncos defense. And if there's ever a time for Josh McDaniels to show different looks and switch things up and try to fool the Broncos defensive coordinator, Sunday would be the perfect opportunity to combat the insider knowledge that they will have from Jarrett Stidham. And also, the biggest factor to this game is the fact that we will have our running back Josh Jacobs. I think he's going to be a huge part to this offense if we want to beat the Denver Broncos. The Raiders will need to run the ball effectively to win this game, in my opinion. But look, I think the Raiders, just in general, we're in a very interesting position for this 2023 NFL season. I think you see most NFL mainstream media, they think that the Raiders are going to be pretty bad this season. I can understand why some people may think that, but I think the Raiders are definitely a team that could fly under the radar in the National Football League, especially after seeing how confident most people are that we're going to lose to the Denver Broncos. I really don't think the Denver Broncos are going to be that great of a football team this season. But look, the Raiders, just in my opinion, we have just so much talent on offense that as long as they can stay healthy, I think there's just too many weapons on this offense for it not to be effective. Say what you want about Josh McDaniels as a head coach as well, but I think overall his play calling is pretty good. And if we can continue to dominate on the ground like we did last season with Josh Jacobs, you add in all the weapons we have with Devontae Adams, Jakobi Meyers, the tight ends we have, Josh Jacobs, Hunter Renfrow. We were finally able to add some speed on this offense. And you just also add the fact that we have a quarterback who is familiar with being in this type of offense, and in this, similar situation, being in an offense with so many talented weapons at the skill positions like he had back when he was in San Francisco. I think Jimmy G is a really good quarterback to have for this season. He's going to be very efficient, going to be able to move the ball, and I think Jimmy G will thrive under a solid running game with Josh Jacobs. And I think the play action pass and ultimately inside the red zone as well is going to be one of the strengths with Jimmy Garoppolo. But of course, one of the biggest caveats when it comes to quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo is his injury history, for him to stay healthy. Now look, I will say if he does get injured, as long as it's not a big injury where he's out 6 months or something like that, I think if Jimmy G does end up missing some time, which I think there's a good chance that he may do so just based off of his history and his track record, if this does happen, I do really feel a lot more confident now in our backup quarterback situation with the way Aiden O'Connell has performed in the preseason. Now, I understand it is preseason and he's going against, second stringers and third stringers, but at the same time, he was also playing with second string talent as well on offense. And really just based on the preseason, he just showed that he can throw the ball in tight windows. His accuracy is on point. You can just tell he's a smart football player, and he has the leadership traits that you're just looking for in a starting quarterback. Not only that, but I think Aiden O'Connell is going to be a quarterback too who's just would excel with a good running game, and he can really take advantage of the opposing defenses in the play action passing game. So really, worst case scenario, if Jimmy Garoppolo goes out for some time, I think Aiden O'Connell at the very least can step in, and I think Josh McDaniels can coach him up and have him perform at a similar level like he had Mac Jones do in his rookie season back with the Patriots. Essentially just be a very solid game manager for us. Really, that's the worst case scenario I can see with Aiden O'Connell if he has to step in this season. But he also has the potential to be a guy that if Jimmy Garoppolo goes out for extended period of time, the kid might just go out there and win the starting job from Jimmy Garoppolo if we're lucky. I mean, that'd just be a fantastic scenario for the Raiders moving forward. To find out that you've been able to locate the quarterback would just be absolutely huge for us, and he'd be under that rookie deal. But regardless of what ends up happening at the quarterback position, I'm just very optimistic about this offense, and I definitely think we can be a top 10 offense. Really the biggest X factor for the overall success of this team this season, and whether or not the Raiders could potentially shock the NFL and be a team that goes under the radar and potentially sneak into the playoffs, is the biggest X factor is going to be the defense. Now look, if the defense can just be competent, this team has the possibility to make some noise. And what I mean by just the overall improvement of the defense, for me, it's 3 categories that I'm looking for this defense, and that's points per game, red zone defense, and turnovers. Now the first one, points per game, is going to be huge for the Raiders. The Raiders typically have always been in the bottom of the league when it comes to this category. And look, I'm okay with the defense that gives us some plays here and there, sort of like a bend but don't break defense. But ultimately, if you can be near the middle of the pack, let's say somewhere around the 15th to 19th range, and when it comes to points per game, I think that could definitely do. Really in the NFL, what wins you games is points on the board. Also, inside the red zone, the Raiders not only have struggled in the red zone on the offensive side of the football, but also the defense. We need to learn how to be stout inside the 20 and force field goals and not touchdowns. And lastly, is going to be turnovers. This defense has to find a way to create more turnovers, get more interceptions, get more strip sacks. Also, I mean, special teams being able to create some turnovers on punt returns, stuff like that. If the Raiders can have a good turnover margin, that'll just give our offense more chances to put points on the board, and you can get them great field position. So really, that's what I'm looking for this team. If we can be right around 15 to the 20th range when it comes to these main categories, especially points per game, and maybe if we can be top 10 and turnovers, stuff like that, that'd be a huge improvement for this team. We just can't afford to be bottom 25, bottom 30 when it comes to these categories, because it's just so hard to overcome that. When it comes to this defense too, if we're going to take a step forward into improving this defense, I think the defensive line is going to have to step up in a big way. I do like the fact that we added some speed at the secondary level. I think Jacorian Bennett's going to have a big year. I do like the safety group right now as well. The linebacker group is a little bit questionable, but what I do like is we have a lot of athleticism at the linebacker group. We got Robert Spillane, a hard-hitting linebacker. We got a sideline-to-sideline athletic guy in Divine Diablo. Amari Burney's also a guy that could hopefully be a decent coverage linebacker for us, guarding running backs and tight ends. So really, the biggest X factor for this team moving forward is going to be the defense. But as I said, I am super optimistic about this offense. If this defense can just make a step forward, I think the Raiders really have a shot to fly under the radar moving forward in this season. But at the end of the day, it all starts week 1 against the Denver Broncos. This is going to be a huge game. This is going to be a division matchup. You have to win as much of these games as possible. Also, the Raiders, the start of the season for the Raiders is pretty difficult, so they need to try to get as many wins as possible. I think the Broncos are definitely a very beatable opponent but we'll just have to see what happens week 1, how this team looks. I'm very excited to see the offense and just so excited to see this team back on that football field. Raiders football is back. But Raider Nation, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think the Raiders have a chance to shock the NFL this season? Let me know down below. That being said, that's all I have for you guys in today's video. Anybody that is new, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next one.